for joining me on another episode of Cultivate. My name's Sagot. I am your host, and I'm just excited that you're here today joining me as we tackle another topic. And today we will be speaking a little bit on mental health and Christianity. How do the two go together? If they do, if they don't, what do we do? Can Christians be depressed? All kinds of questions that we have received. And so I have a very special guest with me today. I have none other than Sussette Priscilla Sagot.
Well, hello.
For those that don't know who she is my sister-in-law. She is Alex's sister, but she is my sister, and we've adopted each other as sisters.
We have. She is my much wanted sister that I never had.
I am an only child. She is my sister I never had, but now I do. And so
Yes.
I love you very much, and I'm so grateful for you. And I don't want to cry because we haven't even been a minute recording. So I love you, and I'm grateful for you. And you're the greatest sister ever.
I love you too. You're the greatest, and you know I cry a lot. But we don't
We're
like
not gonna
emotions.
cry. We're not gonna cry.
Breathe in.
Yes. Okay. So we are talking about
Yes.
mental health, and I want to talk to you because you know a little bit about mental health.
Just a little bit.
I like that this is already going in that direction. That there's people that are very. No, let me just rephrase this. We are very unserious about our dark moments. We just laugh about them.
Yes.
It's how we
That's a
cope.
coping mechanism.
We cope. We laugh about it.
Yes.
Yes. So that's what we're doing right now. Anyways, so seriously, you've dealt with some situations in life that have maybe you've dealt with some mental health issues, and so because I've been there for some of those,
Only some.
a portion of them, I feel like we can have kind of this conversation. Yes. So I have some questions that some people have asked, so I want to answer those questions, but in between those questions, maybe there's a point in time that we have experienced something like that we could relate. So also walk me through maybe those moments that you have gone through that you can relate to some of these things. So the first question that we have is, how can you be a Christian and struggle with depression? Or can you? It doesn't mean that I'm not a Christian. Can I love Jesus, be a Christian, go to church, and still struggle with depression? What would you say to that?
I think that's such a great question, but because before I had depression, that wasn't even a thought that would run through my head. I didn't even really think I had depression. I just knew I wasn't in a great spot. I couldn't pinpoint what it was. But when I went through what I went through, and it was initially when I always call it when my life exploded, right? So when everything kind of came tumbling down, it was hard. It was in a place where where I thought I'd be, right? Single mom with a 6-month-old. At the time I was pregnant. When it officially was over, I was with a 6-month-old and a 2.5-year-old, and just never had really experienced divorce in my family or anything. So that was hard. And I felt like I could keep going. So I'm going to church, I'm doing the things, and I'm doing everything, not realizing I'm in a depression. As time goes by, I do realize I'm in a depression. And I guess to answer that question, yes, I believe you can be a Christian and struggle with depression.
So let's go back a little bit. You grew up in a Christian home.
Yes.
You have been a Christian your whole life. This
Literally.
is all you know.
Yes.
Church is all you know. You've never one of those people. I grew up in church, but then I went and partied my life away. And you've just been a Christian your whole life. Which, as I say this, leads me to even more things, more questions, more points. You grew up in a Christian home. No one really in your family went through a divorce. Here you are, a Christian woman. You now are divorced. You're going through a divorce, which, again, it happens many different reasons. This is where you are. So it also goes to show you that you could be a Christian and still face some situations.
Very much. Mm-hmm.
And now you're dealing with the emotions, processing all these things. You're going to church. You love Jesus. You believe in God. How do you find, or how was that like to recognize that this could be a reality, that I could actually be depressed? What was it in your life? What was going through your mind? What were the things that you were struggling with at the time?
I think that's such a great question, because I did go through periods where I was like, why? Why am I going through this? I've been a Christian all my life. And I was I thought I was a good Christian, right? Like I'm a rule follower. So I was always following the rules. I tried to do everything by the book. Not that I was perfect and I made mistakes, but as much as I could, I had a very like repentful heart, and I loved the Lord and I loved everything. So I was like, how could I be going through this? So that's, I think, what led me into the biggest depression was this is not what I pictured my life to be, because I thought I had done everything mostly right to be in this situation. So I think that the thoughts were just not logical. Like I couldn't believe it, but I have a very good, which is not good in hindsight. I tend to push things to the back of the mind.
Yeah.
So I put them in the back of the mind.
Same.
And I keep going, and I'm like, I'm good, y'all. Hey, Priscilla, you're doing great. I'm great. I mean, I went to work, and for almost a year, nobody knew that I was going through a divorce.
But to a certain degree, that's not necessarily bad, because you're not going to let something tear you down.
Exactly.
So to a point, that's good.
It's good. But then you also have to tackle
right
things that you're trying to not let you bring you down, because eventually it will.
Yeah.
Eventually, if it's something really big, really big, it will. But that helped me keep going. But yes, in essence, my mind was just so many thoughts and thinking and angry. I was angry. So that brought me depression. I was an angry person. I have to say it was at least 3-4 years where I was a very angry person.
At who?
I would say I was angry at my ex and at my situation.
Okay.
Yeah, I was angry at my ex and my situation because I blamed him in a sense for where I was at, even though I had forgiven, but I kind of blamed him for it, because here we are, because whatever.
Yeah.
And I also was angry that now I'm a single mom and this is not what I plan to do. So that was a very difficult road to go down. But in all of that, even though I was dealing with all those feelings and all those, I did question God. I never stopped believing in God. I never stopped going to church. I never stopped trusting that God would take me out of this, because I think a lot of the problem is that when we go through things, we tend to think that God left us. So I would just, continue to pray. There was a wall, but I continued to pray, and I continued to trust that God was going to bring me out of this at one point or another. I didn't know when, I didn't know how. And I just kept my faith in him, even though it was hard. And when I'd wake up mornings and I couldn't keep going, I would look at myself in the mirror and I would talk to myself, and I'd talk to God. I'd be like, hey, you could do this. Come on, let's go. And we'd do another day. And I'd go to sleep that night, and I wake, I cry about it, because that time, I'm getting teary. That time was very hard for me. And it brings up emotions. It doesn't mean I'm not healed, but I do remember that girl that struggled. I was 28, and I struggled a lot mentally.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of strength to get past that. But I did it, and did it with God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I see it now, and I see it as I know some people, I'm like, oh, that blip in my life, I call it sometimes. They're like, a blip. I'm like, yeah, because look at what God's done now. I'm a different woman. I'm stronger. I've done the things I didn't think I could do at the time. I never thought I could be a single mom and maintain a household and, and do things. And here I am. I have a 19-year-old now, 16, and a 9-year-old.
Grown kids.
Yeah, and I've struggled with mental health throughout.
When did you realize that what you were feeling at that moment wasn't just, it's not just I'm angry, it's not just that, it's something deeper that I now need help with? So now it's no longer this feeling in the back of my head that sometimes I feel like I can work through, but it's beyond my control.
Yes. And it's crazy, right? Because you would think I would have realized that right away. It took me so many years down the line. It took me, I think I already had my daughter. She was 9. No, she was around 1 or 2 at the time. And I happened, because when everything first happened, I lived alone. Then you guys came to live with me, and then I moved in with my parents. So I never really lived alone. It was when my daughter was about 1 and I moved into my apartment on my own. And I was finally alone in my house. And my thoughts just started drifting. I started isolating. So for I wasn't unhappy. I was never sad. I was never, and I have to say, I don't think I was ever, from the point when I was angry for 2-3 years. And then I kind of just went on living. I got past that, got over it, healed with my anger, with my forgiveness.
But you never went to see anyone because you thought you were depressed.
I never went to go see anybody. And I thought about taking medication, but I was like, maybe I need medication. I would have those thoughts. And I would be like, no, you don't need anything. Like, that was taboo. Like, take medication for depression. Yeah. God forbid. We're Christians. We pray.
Especially, I would say, what plays a part, I think, is the church background that you came from, or the idea, which was, if you're depressed, we just have to cast out a demon. The demon, it's it's something and the idea of that, of like, this mental health thing was taboo. Medicine, what do you mean? We just pray it away. And it's people didn't understand really that God also gave us a brain and the brain function. There's so many things that kind of come at play. So I think maybe that too, you never saw this. You never saw anyone before around you going to therapy or asking these questions. No. So it's like also navigating something so new.
We were taught in church that you prayed. You prayed through your situations. You trusted God. It was all faith-based, which is
great.
Wonderful.
And it could happen for so many people. Prayer absolutely will help you, can help you. But sometimes we need a little more practical steps as well. Yeah.
So I was in that dark time in my home. I started isolating. I wasn't going out, not even with family. And then I started having thoughts, not anything crazy, but just enough where I was like, maybe I'm not a good mom. Maybe my kids shouldn't be with me, which those thoughts alone are a trigger for me. I'm like, that's not me.
No, yeah.
So I remember I went and I spoke to you, to Alex and you. And then I also finally opened up to my parents. But I'm talking about, this was almost 10 years down the line from when it initially happened. And I started seeing our therapist that we go to, all of us go to. We love him. And that brought relief, because it showed me that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't not healed, but that I did have trauma from whatever happened in my life at the time, and that I did need to work through it. And I needed to just maybe talk about it and speak about it and let it out. And eventually, I have to say, within the last, I would say 4 or 5 years, I did. I started taking medication for some sort of depression and anxiety, because then my anxiety was very high, and I had never realized my anxiety was that high. But I remember where I would feel pains all over my body. I always thought I was sick. And it was actual things, but it wasn't anything like crazy, like where but I would feel something, and right away I thought I had it.
Yeah.
I thought I had this, I thought I had the other, but it was extreme, like extreme. And I was always complaining about some pain. I always had neck pain. All of that was signs of depression and anxiety in my life that I did not know that they were. I thought they were just
some sort
I was
of
just
pain.
tired or stressed, which I was very stressed. I mean, at one point, I laugh about it now.
We laugh about this now, but it wasn't laughable. That, again, bear with our sense of humor.
Yes.
We have dark sense of humor.
I know. I'm like, how do I say this without sounding like... I went bald. I literally went bald.
Go bald, This is so twisted that we laugh at these things, but you have to laugh sometimes at life. You were under so much stress at some point that you developed alopecia,
and which so I still struggle with it.
But back then you had random giant holes.
I had one giant hole at the top of my head, and for a year I had to pick up my hair because I was literally bald. I used to make jokes about it, because I mean, what was I going to do?
What do you do? Yeah.
I have such a dark humor. But yes, so those were all stressful depression signs. And I think, when you're a Christian, you're told you can't be depressed, right? That's the essence of it. You can't be depressed. You can't, how dare you be so depressed and stressed? And I don't think it's ever said in a bad way. Like, it's said to make you depend on God.
But I think you kind of get the idea or the message that some people are trying to give when they say that. I think what you're saying is just a good example. I don't think that you ever lost hope.
Never.
I don't think you ever blamed God. And I don't think you ever kind of like held this against God.
No.
You served, it was almost like they were both hand in hand. You could suffer from something, but you believed that God was going to help you, was helping you. And it was just...
And he brought the tools in to help. He brought friends into my life. He brought medication, which has been life-changing. And, you know, I veer off of it sometimes and I get on. But mostly now it's more for anxiety, because I do sometimes get high anxiety. So I do deal with that. And I think that's just part of being a mom, being a single mom, being maybe you're very high strung. I feel like sometimes I'm high strung. I'm like, but, but I think it's a mechanism of everything that I've gone, like a defense mechanism of everything that I've gone through. I've had to be high strung. I've had to be, because if I'm not, I would be in a very deep depression, which I almost ended up in. And thankfully I was able to kind of get out of it before it was too late.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It makes me also think about people that might, even to that question, people that might be dealing with this and feeling guilty, that maybe you might feel like, well, isn't God enough then? Isn't my relationship with God? Like, question. If I have God and God is so great and amazing, why would I feel this way? So maybe they're not necessarily angry at God, but more like maybe shame on themselves. Like, how could I? And I think it happens. It could just be another part of life, and the Lord will help you through it. But it doesn't mean that, the same with that, like, I don't know, you can develop a disease.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't mean God isn't good. It doesn't mean God can't heal. It's just, you know.
I tell people all the time, like, have grace with yourself. We tend to have grace with so many other people, right? Somebody does us wrong. We're like, but you know, maybe they didn't mean it, but we don't have grace with ourselves. Yeah. And when we're going through situations, or we have been through situations, whether it was when we were children, currently, whenever life happens, because life happens to everybody, having grace with yourself while you're going through it is the biggest thing. And it's not putting God in a place where you make him like a judge, like, or you feel like, I can't feel this way because I'm a Christian, or I can't do this. It's having grace with, like, you know what, life happens and it's happening to me right now. And I need to have, God would have grace with me. So therefore I need to have grace with myself. Yeah. God is graceful. So why wouldn't I be graceful to me? Why would I be so harsh on myself?
Yeah. I was looking up some verses. Again, a lot of people would preach this idea of, you're a Christian, you can't have these sort of feelings, or there's something wrong with you. You're not praying enough. You don't have enough faith. And I just want to read these out because they're pretty crazy. David, who at some point was hiding, you know, King David in caves and whatever, at some point it says, why, my soul, are you downcast? Why so disturbed within me? So you can say, well, even King David faced moments of, you know, feeling like you were sad and down. Elijah says, I have had enough, Lord. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. That's kind of like a suicidal thought in a sense. Like,
he was ready to go. I don't want to
do this anymore. Like, just take me, you know? So if you've ever felt that, like, God, I don't know how I can go another day. It's a natural human feeling on a situation you may be facing. Jeremiah says, cursed be the day I was born. That's pretty harsh. Wow. Why did I ever come out of the womb to see trouble and sorrow? And some people may feel that way. Like, why was I even born to face all these situations, all this pain? Hannah, when she was dealing with her situation, the Bible says that in her deep anguish, Hannah prayed to the Lord, weeping bitterly. So she faced bitterness. Jesus himself, my soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. So I think it's just, as we go through the Bible, we can see the reality of regular people who can love the Lord, believe in God, believe in what they're preaching, what they're living out, and still face emotions.
Yes. And isn't it wild to think that if they went through it and they were literally
how much more us,
like BFFs with God, how much more us? Like, like, I think we all go through things, some much worse than others, obviously. And some people need a little bit more help than others, but that doesn't discount you from being a believer or from trusting in God. You can be going through something. I went through something, to me, it was terrible. And not even that, when my son was born, he had, meningitis, right? And I went through a very hard time and it was very stressful. My son could have died. And I would go into the bathroom and literally when people would come visit and cry on the floor and just pray for God to give me the strength to go out and be able to talk to people, because I was in a very bad state and a very, like, I couldn't believe that was my life. And then, you know, later it happened. But so it doesn't mean that when we go through things, or even if we maybe have a condition, a mental health condition that maybe you do need to be medication all your life, that you don't trust God. Like, yes, you trust God.
I think trusting God is the fact that you kept showing up. Yes. And the fact that you kept asking God to help me get through another day.
That
God, I need you for
you.
This next day. That's also your faith at work, saying, God, I need you. And if you help me, I can't get through another day.
And I feel that's strength and that's courage and that's bravery for you to do that, because it's not easy being there. Right. It's not easy to do that. It's not easy, like I said, to wake up every morning and think, another day from 6 to 12, 6 a.m. to midnight till
24 hours because you got kids,
on top of all the feelings. Yeah.
Can you still serve God while you're struggling with your mental health or depression? I mean, I think we kind of answer that. You still showed up to church.
I think you can, and that you should.
And that you should.
Not only can you, but you should, because isolation is not it. And being connected, a pastor told me once, staying connected when I was going through my, he was staying connected to the church is key.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you're feeling, regardless of what you're going through, staying connected in community is key, because you need that support, and that support is pivotal.
And force yourself out of that place where you want to just... Okay, so another question. I think I might be depressed, but I don't want to seem weak. What do I do?
Ooh, that's a good question. What do? You speak?
Yeah, I think the fact that you're questioning already that you may be dealing with something, it's good enough of a sign to say that you might be dealing with something.
Yeah.
And whether it's depression or not, it's good to have people to just talk to
bounce it off of. So I have friends currently that when we are triggered a little bit, or we are like, oh, I've been feeling like this, I think it's a trigger, we bounce it off of each other, because that way we don't allow it to get so deep rooted into our souls that then it becomes a bigger issue that we have to now deal with, because we already struggle with it.
Yeah.
So I think if you're questioning, if you are dealing, like, I think I might be depressed and I don't want to say anything, definitely find someone you feel comfortable.
Definitely say something.
Definitely say something. Find someone you feel safe and comfortable with, whether it's a pastor, maybe your best friend, somebody that you know is gonna protect your heart and is gonna help you, because there's great people out there, and everybody is, and if people are...
And you don't have to go around labeling yourself, because then you have the complete opposite extreme where people just love to label themselves. Oh, I have terrible anxiety, I'm depressed, I'm whatever. And some people just kind of love that. They become that. And the more and so it's to say you could have anxiety, but you could feel anxious, but that doesn't mean you have anxiety.
Yes.
All of us have felt anxious at some point or another.
Because I think there's extremes. There's people that do have anxiety. Okay, but then there's people that have anxiety.
Have an anxious feeling.
You have I don't think I don't have anxiety. I don't have anxiety. I have anxious moments, and I have anxious thoughts that are normal. And sometimes can be a little extreme, but they can definitely be toned down.
Yeah. So you could go through life, have certain feelings. Maybe you experience some sort of depression for a moment, but also not holding on to these labels and embrace them so much, because there's people who really do that.
Yes.
But being open with, your emotions, your feelings, whatever. I would think what we said at the beginning, that you just push things back and just keep going. I'm that way. I know. Since I was young, I realized my whole thing, being a teenager, when life is happening, you just, what are the options? Like, I'm gonna sit down and cry. I'm like, you
don't have a choice.
I'm not. It's either this or this. So what I would do is just say, hey, you get over it. You're strong and you get over it. And so to me, get over it is push her back and keep moving, because what was the alternative at that point to me is like, what's the alternative of this? Was just be depressed and cry about it and not do anything. It's like, no, you just keep going. And so to a certain degree, I think having an attitude like that, it's good.
It's excellent.
That you don't just crumble and die and the whole world is falling apart on me, but you have some grit. But depending what you're facing, you do need to deal with it and not just, and so I remember there was a point, I never thought about depression. Because I'm like that personality. I'm like, whatever. I didn't know I was depressed. I think it was months or maybe even years after that I look back, and now I can recognize like, well, I think I really was depressed and I didn't know it, because sometimes people think about depression like someone who just doesn't want to get out of bed. And there's plenty of people that get up every single morning, do everything they have to do, and they are depressed. So yes, there are people that can't get out of bed for sure. But depression doesn't always look that way. And so to me, I was doing everything. I'm literally doing everything. I'm serving. I work at church. Life keeps going. And because you have that way of being, it's like, it's fine. But now looking back, I can recognize like, no, what I was facing was depression. And I think, again, it's why it's important to, in that moment, have someone. That doesn't mean that you're gonna go be like, I'm depressed, help me, but I'm struggling. I think it's good for all of us to get be familiar with our emotions, because sometimes you don't even know what you're feeling. Sometimes you're just going and you don't know what's happening inside of you, but it's happening.
Which is what happened to you and what happened to me. I mean, it took almost 10 years for me to be like, you know what? Maybe
I was depressed. And looking back, I promise you, and I've said this before, I remember a period of time where my memories are black and white. I don't it's almost
your mind blocks it.
It almost feels like a tunnel. Like I walk through a tunnel, and if I have a memory, if it literally has, it's the weirdest thing. It's like crazy how your mind is. It looks like when you have a black and white dream, it's black and white. It's just like this tunnel thing. And so I remember there was probably once or twice that I preached on a Sunday, and I don't know this is happening. Because I'm not crying. I'm not like, I'm doing things.
You're trucking along. You're going through everyday life.
But if you don't have something that just makes you stop and think, that's a problem. And a lot of us don't have that moment. A lot of us do. But
that is great that you brought that up, because I feel like that's something I have now. As years have passed, like I can see myself going into a bad place. Right away I can be like, this thought is going this way. It's been going to the right, like a little bit too much the past few weeks. I need to address this today and kind of put it into prayer, because sometimes you don't realize it, but it could be the small. It was a movie I watched how long ago? Maybe before, I think I was already working at church. I watched a movie, and I guess that movie triggered something. And I went into, I would say it was maybe a 4-week long little hole. And I didn't even say anything because of a movie that triggered an emotion in me. And I was like, and I didn't even realize that it had happened until like 3 weeks down the line. I was like, I knew, I saw that I was going back into isolation. I was already feeling a little dark, and it wasn't a bad movie. It was a cutest movie, but it must have triggered some PTSD, as they say, or something in me that just was taking me down that path. And right away I had to make changes in my life and become hyper aware of what my next step was going to be, and sometimes it's you have to do these steps, and you have to do them. Like I tell sometimes people that come, oh, but I'm feeling it. You have to do it. It's like, I was speaking to someone yesterday, actually. It's like you're going in a hole, and now you have to, in order to get out of it, you have to climb Mount Everest. And Mount Everest is going to be hard, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to take a little bit, but you have to do it now. because if you don't do it now, the hole's going to get bigger and it's going to be harder to climb out. So it's like you have to take these steps and you have to do it even if it hurts, and you have to pull one arm and then the other until you're on the other side. And when you get to the other side, you can breathe. And now you feel better to make the necessary decisions as to how to handle whatever it is that you were feeling back there. Because when you're in it, you're really not thinking clearly. So you just have to so I did go through that, and I was like, a cute movie where I cried.
And it's not even like there's anything currently happening to you.
No, my life is great. I love it.
It's just, it's just things that so it's important to also get to know yourself.
Yes.
And be honest with yourself.
Yes.
And spend time with yourself and recognize and identify those triggers. Very important. Whenever I'm not in a good place, these are my tendencies.
Yes.
So when you are in that situation, you can say, hey, I need help.
I have the list of things in my head that I know if I'm doing this, and they start accumulating, I'm like, yeah, okay,
I need to do
something about it now, or I need to, whether it's I need to go talk to my therapist, or I need to continue my medication, or I need to start doing the opposite of whatever it is that I'm feeling. I need to do the opposite of it in order to get out of it. But it has helped that I know my triggers now. And what helped was that one time that I went through that really dark depression, because before then I didn't know. And when I got really deep into my depression, that helped me identify a lot of triggers. So I have a lot of things in place that keep me from getting there. Like I have a strict bedtime. I have to do things. I have to go out with my kids, do things, get out of my house, because I tend to be a person who I like being home and isolate, especially if I don't have my kids that weekend. You may not see me until...
Which on its own, it's not bad.
No, but
if it happens more than once, more than twice...
Exactly.
It becomes a pattern.
Because since I have that problem, I don't notice it.
Comfortable.
Yeah. But then eventually I will know, once I realize that now it's even hard for me to like get out of bed, or to even, I'm going to be honest, take a shower, brush my teeth, do my hair, do my makeup. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, no. We need to now like work harder at this. So I think knowing those triggers is so important to make better decisions. And, and people may be looking at this and like, oh yeah, but that's like a light depression. Yeah, it is. Maybe it's a light depression, and if you're dealing with something bigger, then you need to go and find medical help, and you need to find a doctor you can talk to and do the steps and do the things, because sometimes we just I feel like a lot of us would like to live in it because it's hard to do the work and it's hard to get past it. So it's not that we like, but it's easier. Sometimes to sit in it and then maybe complain about it, but not do the steps. And like I said, it's not everybody.
Right. Yeah, but if you know that that's a tendency you have, then you need to be more aware. You need to put those things in place and have people in your life that know that.
Yes.
Because once people know that you have that tendency, they don't see you around.
My family's quick.
Tell you, be like, hey, my family's quick.
And I love it though, because sometimes I'll be like,
your brother's quick to tell you.
My brother is quick to Priscilla, and I'm like, what? But at the end, I'm so thankful. My mom is really quick. My dad, everybody. And I think that's what I need in my life. So I'm at the moment, it may make me feel uncomfortable, and it does, because it's hard for people to call you out on your things. Whether or not you're going through whatever, it's just hard for people to call you out on your things. But it's helpful to me, because at the moment I'm like, oh, they're so like, they don't understand. And then I'm like, oh, my life is so hard. And then I'm like, yeah, life is hard. Life is difficult. But get your crap together and get it going. And I'm like, okay, today I'm going to go and do this. And today but that helps me come out. That also helps me come out of it, because I feel like I can easily fall into it, because out of comfort or just being tired. Sometimes it's just being tired. You're tired of every day stressing, and you fall into things that lead you into other things.
For sure. I think the other question, we've already kind of answered, which is it okay for Christians to take medication or go to therapy for mental health? I think, you've shared your experience and you have done both. I've gone to therapy before. In talking to some of our friends, people close to us, some of the pastors, I would say there's a new wave of therapy or therapists. It's a fine line. So whenever I tell someone or I suggest this, it's a very fine line, because number one, I don't think that as a Christian you should necessarily be going to a therapist that's not a Christian.
Yes.
Nothing, against them or whatever, but there are certain things that we believe. Our therapist is great to bring things back to the Bible, and everything is Bible based, and I think that makes a big difference. There are Christian therapists who are not great. I think therapy can help you sort out thoughts, give you tools. I don't think therapy is the end all of your situation. I think it's like just, when we say go up to a friend, I think it's just a friend that has tools to get you to understand something, work something out, but for you to be able to walk that out.
I agree.
With God involved in it. So I am just careful to say, who do you go to? What are they telling you? What are they speaking into your life?
Yes.
I think it's a little tricky.
It's very tricky. I think that's why a lot of people, maybe Christians, are leery of it, or anybody. I think therapy has become kind of like a something people use to kind of enable themselves to continue doing or being who they are, and maybe putting things on other people. I think that it's good
because you can go to therapy and just say what you want to say.
Exactly.
Your version of things.
Yes.
That's another thing, is that you bring to therapy what you want to bring to it.
Yes.
That therapist has no way of helping you if I go and I say what honest. I want to say. And it might not be that you're doing it on purpose, but I just go and present this, but that might not be
correct.
The whole picture. And so that's another thing, is I'm going to get feedback based on what I bring.
Exactly.
But what I brought might not be
the full story.
Right.
Or the full reality.
Right. So
that's why therapy is so
it's tricky.
That's why I love our therapist. But that's why I'm also like with therapy, because sometimes I know that I have to go and I have to be honest, and I have to be like, so this is what it is. And I have to bare my soul kind of, and be real, maybe not as real as maybe realer than what I am even to one of my best friends or my family, because why am I going to this person who's going to give me unbiased advice and tools to be able to work through what I'm feeling and not get the full potential out of it? But I think that we've used it the wrong way, and if we go to the wrong person who's not a Christian, doesn't bring it back to God, that also goes back into being a Christian. Can I be a Christian and be depressed or take medication? You can, but it all kind of has to circle back to God. So your therapist should circle back to God, your psychiatrist, whatever it is, everything should be centralized on God, so that at the end of the day, your trust at the end of the day is on God. So it doesn't matter where you go.
There is a preaching by Dr. Anita Phillips. Anita Phillips. She is an incredible therapist and an incredible woman of God, and she has this, I think it's a book now, but I watched a teaching she did, I think it was at the Potter's House, Bishop Jakes, and she explained how, especially for Christians who are a little bit like hesitant about the mind and God and how everything works, I'm gonna try to find it and I'll try to link it, but if not, it's Dr. Anita Phillips. Everything she talks about is very much psychological, your mind, but it's also very much rooted in faith and in what we believe in. And I think she really brings such a great combination, like how she brings both together. It's not one or the other, it's both, and how both of them could coexist. So if you have any questions, if people watching have any questions, just look her up, Dr. Anita Phillips. I can research her book, but I think it's a good way for us to, be aware and know that God created our minds, our brains, You know what I liked?
I think you said this analogy at one point. I don't remember, many years ago. And you had said that I think it was you had said that the mind was like a muscle, right? The brain. And the brain, you go to the gym and you work out that muscle really hard and it breaks down and then it has to rebuild. And it's just like the brain. When the brain goes through a very traumatic situation, it breaks down and it has to heal. And it takes time to heal. And sometimes the healing could be for the rest of your life. Sometimes some people heal quicker. Some people, it takes longer. And I think it's having that mindset that just because we're Christian, we don't have to have this perfect life. And we can't be depressed. And we can't do medication. Thankfully, God was the creator of all things. And he created all those things. And if we seek and find the right, with the guidance from God, seek and find the right people, the right medication if you need it, which I think back in the day, that was terrible. That was, and even not in the church, it was overall, it was very taboo to take medication.
Yeah.
And if you need it, do it, because you do want to lead a healthy life for yourself, for others, for God, and to just be able to enjoy life and live it at the fullest, because you don't want to live stressed, with anxiety, overwhelmed.
For sure.
So many other things that we need to lose that fear. Yeah.
Okay, I found it. It's Dr. Anita Phillips. The message is called Good Ground, and it happened at the Potter's House. There's many times that she's spoken, so it's great. And the book, the first one, is called The Garden Within, and I think it's really great. She also has a podcast, In the Light, I believe it's what it's called, and I think it's really good. For us to know, it's not one or the other. We can, it is faith. It is also our bodies, and we can get out of it. And being mindful of that. You were saying about that movie, and I could be like that too.
Yes.
That something happens and it just triggers something in me that I can't even quite figure out what it is. And I remembered, I feel like I'm still very much, what's the word? Sensitive to this. I don't know why. Honestly, I haven't figured it out. But I remember very much during that time, I've never had thoughts of harming myself ever. That's just never been something that's crossed my mind. What has crossed my mind is just, what if I wasn't here? Like what if I just didn't exist? Okay. Never like acting on anything ever. But just if I it just if I just wasn't here, if I just wasn't around, right?
That's an interesting thought, yeah.
And it's a scary thought when, like, if you really sit down and think about it, it's like, I mean, that's kind of, but nothing beyond that. And so I think right at that time there was a young pastor that took his own life. I think his wife, I actually have the book right there. It's called Fear Gone Wild. Kayla. Yeah. And I didn't know this guy. I have no idea who this family is. I just remember it happened, and I cannot tell you how it like affected me. I can cry. Because it made me realize, like, man, if I don't take care of myself, even though I haven't had that thought fully, like, that could be me. Yes. The pressure of a church, the pressure of, like, at that point, so many things, you've known all the struggles that we've had and all these different things. And so it's like, man, I really need to take care of myself, because he was leading a church.
It could be.
And it just takes a second for you not to say something, to not bring people in and end up in a really dark place. I think a few months after that, it happened to another guy. And it was these moments of reality of, like, all of us can find ourselves in that place if we don't take care of our feelings, if we think that we can just do it all. And it's a beautiful thought, and we can push ourselves and our minds to limits of, get it together, go another day, you figure it out, whatever. Again, at the core, good things. We all need to have a side of us that's just has that, but also know the limit, and also know that we all have limits. And so asking for help, again, it's just getting to know yourself, because sometimes you don't ask for help, not because you don't want it, but because you don't know you need it.
Yes, I struggle with that.
I struggle with that.
Yeah, I don't. I'm like, I think mine more is a pride thing. I know, Lord, I'm sorry. But I'm like, I could do it. I could do this. I could do this for the rest of my life. And no, I can't, because I realized pretty quick, 10 years down the line, that even though I never thought about maybe suicide, I did think maybe I shouldn't be. It was going down that line of, I don't think I ever would have fully gone there. I don't know, because I don't know what my mind would have worked out. But it did scare me when I started thinking maybe my kids are better off not with me. Maybe I should give them to their dad because I'm such a bad mom. And I was like, oh, I don't like where these thoughts are going, because where am I going to be if I'm not with my kids? Like, what is my next thought going to be?
Right.
Because I feel like I'm going, and that's what helped me open up, because I got scared of my thoughts. I got so scared. I was like, I can't even think about where I'm going to go next with this thought process, and could end up somewhere there, because it does literally take a second. That's why I think it's good that we tend to push feelings back and keep trucking, but it's also could be tricky, because you could feel like you're so strong. Oh, I got this. And not out of pride. You do know you're struggling. You do know that it's hard, but it'll come back around so fast.
Or it's what you've done your whole life. I feel like there's people that's just what their lives have consisted of. You just keep moving, but just because you have doesn't mean that you can continue.
And knowing the triggers is, I think, knowing that when you get to that point and you can maybe just start pinpointing, because nobody gets from point A to point Z from one day to the next. It's a process. So somewhere in that process, you should be able to start identifying triggers. And once you start identifying triggers, right away to act on it, not wait until you get to Z.
Yeah, I think that's great. So I was going to ask you action steps, but I feel like you've already given those.
Action steps,
for people who might be, dealing with, maybe there's someone watching and they know they're depressed, getting help.
Yes.
Saying it.
Speak up. Believe it or not, sometimes just venting to someone and being like, look, I feel like this. I felt when I've done that, it's such a release. Like I can feel the weight that it's been, you can literally feel a weight on your chest just way off. And it doesn't mean it isn't there anymore. It just feels good to let it out and let somebody know.
Yeah, for sure. And I think spending some time with yourself, getting to know yourself, kind of taking inventory of how you have dealt with your life events, situations, recognizing triggers. What is my tendency? What do I tend to do when life gets difficult? I think just a lot of self-reflection can help a lot. And say it, bring it up. Don't be embarrassed. Don't feel like because you say you're less of a Christian, you don't have enough faith. No, you're just a human being, and life happens to everybody.
Yeah, and God loves you. Yeah, and God is with you, and like that. One of my favorite poems, and one of the ones that kind of kept me going, was Footprints in the Sand. And it talks about how when they were walking on the sand together, there was two footprints, and then all of a sudden there was one, and she or him tells him, God, why have you left me? He goes, I haven't. I've been carrying you this whole time. Yeah. And gets me emotional. But to think that God doesn't leave you, and not to think that God left you because you may not hear him. Sometimes we're so deep in our things that you're not probably going to hear space. God. Yeah, you may not. And that's okay. That doesn't mean God's not there. That means just keep going, just keep praying, just keep believing. God is, in that time, God is walking you through it.
Yeah. And bring people around that can be that voice that you need in that moment to remind you that
God is there. Yeah. And sometimes you have to remind yourself. For a lot of years, I had my family, but did I have close friends? No. But I had to trust God, and I had to pray. And I would pray, Lord, bring people around me, like friends that are godly. And it took almost 5 years for me to get rid of some friends and bring other friends in. And it's having that patience, that grace, and that trust. I think if you trust in God, God's always going to answer regardless. So whether it's your way or another way, he's going to have an answer for you.
Now that you mentioned friendships, I think it's also important to have friends that help you up and out. Not that just we can share our feelings, emotions like we're doing right now, right? But there's hope, and there are people who just love to dwell on their issues and their situations. So there's a space and a time for everything. There's a space and a time for us to talk about it, cry together. I felt that way. I get a reassurance. But we're walking out of here, and then there's moments where we could have friendships that all we do is share the feelings or whatever, and it's so depressing, and we're just constantly living in that. And so I think we also need to see if we have friendships like that, that they don't add and help us out, but actually just keep us there, to maybe it's time to
move on.
It doesn't mean that they can't be your friends. Maybe they just are not those people you share these things with.
Yes.
You need the people that can hear you out, but also tell you, okay, I get it. Okay, now let's go.
Exactly.
Don't
you
just
need
sit
people
here
that are
and talk
gonna
about
like
this all night. Oh, yeah.
push you out of it,
Yeah.
or you push out of it together. Because no, if you're just gonna dwell on it, you're never gonna get out of it. Yeah, taking inventory of your friendships, and like you said, it's not like you can't be friends with them, but you may have to reassess.
Yeah.
And see, and it's okay.
And that could be a type of friendship you have, but not the friendship that you go to when you have these feelings or emotions.
Because some people may not be able to help you.
Yeah.
Out. And if you want out, you want people who are going to help you out.
Yeah. Well, thank you for crying with me.
Well, sister, thank you for
crying
with me too.
laughing with me. I am glad that I get to have a dark sense of humor with you.
I love it.
And laugh at our miseries.
I wouldn't have wanted it any other way, sister.
But yeah, no, for real. Thank you for being open, vulnerable, honest.
You.
And I know it's not easy to talk about some things and to just put things out there. But I know that helps people when people look at others and see, like, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that's gone through things. And, seeing how, there's something good at the end and it could change. So thank you so much. I know we just started unpacking things. But I hope that this helped you. I hope that if you have dealt with something like this in your life, or you're dealing with it, that you realize you're not alone. You could still love Jesus, be a Christian, and deal with life. Life happens to everybody. But that you found some tools, that you were inspired, encouraged. I think we could do a part 2 of this. There's so much more to talk about. So if you have any questions, if there's any other topic within this mental health topic that we're going on talking about, let us know. Ask the questions, and we'll try to just discuss it further next time. But thank you so much for watching, and don't give up hope. Just don't let go of Jesus. Jesus loves you. He is for you. There is a light at the end. There is hope. Always there is hope. And just keep moving forward. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in.